everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You know CoQ10, like the supplement for energy.
Yeah.
Well, today, we're diving into some research that suggests it might actually help with acute pancreatitis. We're going to be looking at a 2016 article from the journal Oxidative Medicine and Cellular Longevity.
Okay.
We're going to see if this common supplement could help manage this really painful condition.
So, acute pancreatitis, it's a major cause of hospital admissions for gastrointestinal issues. And get this, up to 20% of those cases can actually face serious complications.
Whoa. Okay, so that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Can you explain what acute pancreatitis is and what causes it for those of us who don't know?
So it's a sudden inflammation of the pancreas.
Okay.
It's often caused by things like gallstones, heavy alcohol use.
Right.
But sometimes the cause is unknown. And one of the key processes involved is something called oxidative stress.
Okay, I've heard that term before, oxidative stress. But can you break it down like in a way that anyone can understand?
So imagine your cells are under attack from these unstable molecules.
Okay.
They're called reactive oxygen species, or ROS. Think of them like little firecrackers going off,
Okay.
causing damage.
Uh-huh.
Now, our bodies have a natural defense against this, antioxidants. They're like the firefighters putting out those flames.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when there's too many firecrackers and not enough firefighters,
Right.
that's when you get oxidative stress. And it wreaks havoc on the pancreas.
So basically it's like this battle going on inside, and in acute pancreatitis, the bad guys are winning.
Exactly. And that's where CoQ10 might be able to help.
Okay.
It's a powerful antioxidant that our bodies naturally produce, and it's available as a supplement.
Right.
This research was basically looking into whether CoQ10 could provide that extra help to the body to fight back against oxidative stress.
So they were giving it to rats with pancreatitis to see if it made a difference?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
They took 32 male rats, divided them into 4 groups. A control group, no pancreatitis. Then another group, induced pancreatitis.
Got it.
And then the last 2 groups, they induced pancreatitis and gave them different doses of CoQ10.
Interesting. So they induced pancreatitis in a way that would mimic what happens in humans.
Yeah. They used injections of something called L-arginine
Okay.
in high doses that
Yeah.
can actually trigger pancreatitis in the lab animals.
Got it.
Then they measured different things, like enzyme levels,
Okay.
markers of inflammation. And they even looked at the pancreas tissue under a microscope to see how much damage there was.
Okay. So what'd they find? Did the CoQ10 actually work?
The results were really promising.
Okay.
The rats that got the CoQ10,
Yeah.
they had significantly lower levels of those damaging enzymes. And it's a big deal because those enzymes can actually start digesting the pancreas itself.
Oh, wow. That's scary. So the CoQ10 was basically like protecting the pancreas from being attacked by its own enzymes.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
That's wild.
And it gets even better.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah. CoQ10 also lowered these markers of inflammation. And it actually boosted this anti-inflammatory substance called IL-10.
So it's helping the body repair itself.
Exactly. And when they looked at the tissue under the microscope,
Yeah.
they found less damage in those groups compared to the group that just had pancreatitis.
So CoQ10 was helping to prevent some of the damage.
Right.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's working on a lot of different levels.
Yeah.
You know, it's tackling those enzymes, calming down inflammation, and it's even protecting the pancreas from damage.
It's a really multifaceted approach. It's super exciting.
I know. This is so cool.
But
yeah?
there are some things to keep in mind.
Yeah.
You know, before we get too carried away.
Okay, I'm ready for the caveats.
Okay, good. Because remember,
Yeah.
this is just one study,
Right.
and it was done on rats.
Of course, yeah.
So,
Doesn't necessarily translate to humans.
exactly. The results are encouraging, but we need more research, especially on humans, before we can make any definite recommendations.
Right. Okay, I get that. But this is definitely interesting.
Yeah, it opens up a lot of possibilities.
Okay, so now I want to know more about the details of these results
Yeah,
and what they could mean for people dealing with pancreatitis.
right. So let's dive into that in part 2. We'll take a closer look at those numbers,
Okay,
and yeah, we'll discuss what it all means.
awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about how CoQ10 looks promising for protecting the pancreas, but what were some of the specific results? Like, how effective was the CoQ10?
So let's start with those enzymes, amylase and lipase.
Okay.
Remember, the ones that spike during pancreatitis.
Yeah.
So in the control group, average amylase was around 125 units per liter, but the pancreatitis group,
Yeah.
it jumped up to 173.
Wow, so it like really goes up.
Yeah, a big jump.
So what happened when they added the CoQ10?
Well, The group that got 100 milligrams per kilogram,
Okay.
their amylase dropped to 158.
Okay.
And the group with the higher dose, 200 milligrams per kilogram,
Yeah.
it went down even further to 144.
Interesting. So even with pancreatitis, the CoQ10 kind of kept those enzymes in check.
Exactly.
Huh.
And the same thing happened with lipase levels.
So it seems like CoQ10 is preventing the pancreas from, like, going crazy with those enzymes.
Yeah, and that helps reduce damage.
Right. And what about the inflammation? What did they find there?
So they looked at TNF-alpha, which is a big inflammation marker.
Oh.
In the control group, it was around 17 picograms per milliliter.
Okay.
But in the pancreatitis group,
Yeah.
it shot up to almost 60.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, so inflammation is a serious issue during pancreatitis.
Definitely. So did the CoQ10 help with that too?
When they gave the rats CoQ10, TNF-alpha went down a lot. The group with the lower dose,
Yeah.
it dropped to 42. And the higher dose group, down to about 31.
Still high, but way better than without the CoQ10.
Right.
So it's calming things down.
Yeah. And remember, IL-10.
The anti-inflammatory one.
Yep. In the control group, it was around 56 picograms per milliliter. But with pancreatitis,
It went down.
plummeted to just 20.
Yikes. Like, the body can't fight back.
Exactly. But then they gave him CoQ10.
Mm.
And in the lower dose group, IL-10 went back up to 51.
Okay.
And the higher dose group, it reached almost 80.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah. CoQ10 is boosting the good stuff too, not just lowering the bad.
Like it's giving the body a boost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of this is backed up by what they saw under the microscope, when they looked at the pancreatic tissue.
Yeah.
They gave each pancreas a score based on how damaged it was.
Okay.
Higher score, more damage.
Got it.
The control group has a score of 1,
Okay.
but the untreated pancreatitis group,
Oh.
almost a 9.
Whoa, that's bad. So what about the CoQ10 groups?
Lower dose group around a 5,
Yeah.
and the higher dose,
Yeah.
just above a 3.
So less damage with CoQ10.
Right. Less damage, better recovery.
That makes sense. This is all really interesting, but are there, like, any limitations to the study?
Of course.
Yeah.
Just one study, and, it was in rats. We can't just assume the same thing will happen in people.
Right.
And other things could affect how well CoQ10 works too,
Like what?
Well, like how severe the pancreatitis is, how people's bodies process things. Even diet could play a role.
Right. Okay. So more research is needed.
Definitely. But it's a good start.
Yeah. It gives us a lot to think about.
For sure.
So what does all this mean for our listeners?
Let's talk about that in part 3. We'll explore what this means for both types of pancreatitis
Okay.
and what role CoQ10 might have in overall health.
All right. So we've looked at the research. We've seen some of the results. What does this all mean for someone listening? If they're concerned about pancreatitis, what should they take away from all this CoQ10 stuff?
Well, I think the biggest thing to remember is this research is still early. We need more studies, especially in humans, before we can say anything for sure. There's not a green light to just start taking tons of CoQ10,
Right. Of course not.
But it does seem promising, right? It offers hope, and, it's a new path to explore.
So is this something worth talking to your doctor about?
Oh, absolutely. If you're worried about pancreatitis, whether you've been diagnosed or you think you might be at risk, talk to your doctor about this research.
Yeah.
They can help you weigh the pros and cons and figure out if CoQ10 might be right for you.
So it's all about having those conversations with your doctor and making smart decisions together.
Exactly. And, this research also brings up some interesting questions about CoQ10 and other health problems.
Yeah, because oxidative stress is a factor in lots of diseases, not just pancreatitis.
Right. It's like this common thread.
Yeah.
So if CoQ10 can fight it in the pancreas, could it also help other organs?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, and researchers are looking into that right now, like how CoQ10 might affect heart health, brain health, even aging.
It's amazing to think about. This one pancreatitis study could lead to so much more,
I know, it's really cool. It makes us think outside the box, not just about typical treatments, but about these natural compounds. Who knows what we'll find as we learn more about how our bodies work.
I love that. It's a good reminder to always keep learning. So what's your main takeaway for our listeners today?
Be curious. Learn about CoQ10. Talk to your doctor, my worker. Keep an eye out for new research. This study gives us a really interesting look at a new way to maybe manage pancreatitis and maybe even other conditions. It shows that it's important to look at all our options and learn as much as you can so you can make the best choices for your own health.
Well said. It's all about staying informed and taking care of ourselves. Thank you so much for this deep dive into CoQ10 and pancreatitis. It's been so interesting.
My pleasure. And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us. Stay curious, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.